Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cornstar Farms. And before we get started, big thank you to Simply Safe for sponsoring this video. There's no safe like Simply Safe. For today's job, our entire crew is going to be running on all cylinders. At the moment, our crops are about 30 days away from reaching full maturity, which means harvest is going to be starting soon. In order to get ready for harvest, my brother Cooper, aka the Magic Mullet, is going to be running around getting pre-harvest tasks completed. When it comes to the main farm, we are in the middle of remodeling and building an addition on my house. This morning, I am going to be working on some off-farm activities, so I am not going to be around. So while I am off doing that, Cooper's gonna get started with some farm stuff, and then Roman is going to be cleaning up the job site around the house, and he's going to start getting things prepared for concrete. As you can probably imagine, when there's 6 of us running around the farm doing all sorts of different things, it's really hard to keep track of everything that is going on. So just so things make more sense, I'm gonna add a little bit of context as to what is going on with all of today's projects. This year, we are going to be running a Calmer corn head on our combine. 3 years ago, we had a folding corn head, which did not need a trailer. And then for the last 2 years, my brother was working with a corn head company that let us use their trailer, and they decided to go different paths. So now with the Calmer corn head, we are going to need a trailer. So if I'm not mistaken, today my brother is going to purchase a corn head trailer. The head that we are going to be getting is going to be a corn head that is on display at the Calmer corn head booth at the Farm Progress Show this year in Decatur, Illinois. And that head needs to get from Illinois to here. I spoke with Marion Calmer, who is the owner of Calmer Corn Heads, and he told me that he has an employee who lives about an hour away from me. And he asked if that employee could just pick up our header trailer on the way to the farm show, so that way once they were done with the head at the farm show, they could just load it up on the trailer and then bring it back here. So that way they didn't have to get a semi involved, and it would just make the process a lot easier. So not only do we need to get a header trailer today, we also need to get it fully serviced to be able to be ready for 10 hours of driving at 70 miles per hour. As for the house project, our efforts are going towards getting our last concrete pour completed so we can start framing the wooden walls of the house. This year, we have been getting a lot of rain, and when it comes to pouring concrete, we have had to work around the rain. At the moment, the area where we need to pour concrete is insulated with closed cell spray foam insulation. This insulation is keeping the soil underneath dry. For us to pour our concrete, we need to dig a footing to support the weight of the house that will be on top of it. They are forecasting several inches of rain, so in an effort to avoid a big hole full of water, Justin and Roman are going to take delivery of new materials, and they are going to get started framing walls in the underground movie theater. Once the rain is out of the forecast, we will continue with the concrete work. And then on top of all of that, there's a semi in the shop that's getting some pre-harvest maintenance done to it. If you see a skid loader in the background getting worked on, that is Justin's, and Zach is getting it ready to push snow for this winter. And then our Challenger MT 955C tractor that will be pulling the tile plow this fall is going to be going to the Titan Tire booth at the Farm Progress Show, and Cooper and Zach are planning to give it some spruce ups to make it look really nice before the show starts. So that's the context of everything that is going on. I am now going to get started with my off-farm activities. I will see you guys in a few minutes.
Good mid-morning, everyone. Let's get to work.
heading up to get the that head trailer that we purchased yesterday. So we're gonna go up there and get that me and Ellen are going up there. Ellen's in the back sleeping already. We're 10 minutes into our drive. She's cashed out. Maybe she needs just a little bit of Red Bull in her dog cup. I'm not sure what she needs. All right, we just made it back. Got a full tour of their farm, so I was there for about an hour. But here's the trailer. It's a 2011 Scud King, double axle on the back, tricycle wheel up front. It's a 32 footer. This trailer's got to go to Illinois. They're going to be pulling a calmer head out there for this trailer. So we're going to put new tires on it. These tires are pretty good. If they were staying here, getting some weather checking, they got to go 6.5 hours one way and 6.5 hours back. So we'll make sure it's got good tires so you ain't got to worry about tires blowing out. So I'm going to pull 4 tires off quick, bring those to Napa, and they're going to put some new tires on, and they're going to order 2 other ones for the front. And then we're going to check the wheel hubs in these eventually, make sure bearings are tight, grease them. We're going to go ahead and buzz these off quick. Alrighty, we just got the tires dropped off at Napa. Now we're heading to Van Wall. We got to pick up 3 rolls of net wrap because we're going to bail this afternoon. So that's where I'm heading out. We're going to go get some net wrap. We went to Van Wall, got net wrap, went to the courthouse, got truck registered, got the plates on the truck, and ran and dropped those tires off. So Zach should be back here at the tires here in a little bit. They're getting lunch. So we're going to go ahead and throw these new cab mounts on. There's the difference there. Look a little better. So we're gonna go ahead and install these. Okay, we got 3 of the new tires. Must not have had a 4th one, I'm assuming, or we ran out of time before lunch. So we got 3 they can put on. I'll have 2 more tomorrow. Those will come in. Right now we're pulling the hubs off and we're repacking the bearings, cleaning all the old grease out, putting new grease in. Because it's got 6.5 hours one way, so I don't know how many miles that is, probably 300 miles or better. So we want to make sure this thing's good to go and they don't have any issues. So we're just safe measures, gonna repack the bearings, put new grease in, and then also for us, we know it's good to go.
We got materials coming in. No concrete today, so we're gonna be working on turning this into building some walls. We got the materials delivered to us already. Justin just got them moved to closer to where we'll be working today. And this is gonna be our work zone. We'll have to build the walls and frame the entire perimeter of this basement room right here. The dusty part is hopefully behind us, and what a beautiful way to start the day, get all dusty in the concrete. And another delivery. The treated plates are down. What's next?
Put some whiteboards on and get a stud length and start building some walls.
Now with having the boards here, Justin already cut them to the length that we measured. We're gonna put them together and lift this section up, then lift the other section up and secure it to the wall so it's nice, plumb, and uniform. The first wall is up, and now we'll be jumping to put the wall across here.
I'm about to stroke out.
Why? You're hot?
Yes. See this? I'm sweating through.
Me too. So what do you want me to do?
Go up there, hand me that transit stick, and then we'll throw some more studs down while you're up there. And
That's what I said, and you
Then-
start stroking out.
go get me some water. Then we'll take a break.
So he's getting it himself. Look at him. Oh. Are you gonna get boards too?
Nope. You're gonna go get me a water and then go get boards.
Justin said run to get water for him. I saved you.
We're gonna take a break from the heat for a moment, so let's talk about security systems. When I was growing up, we always talked about getting a security system, but we never did because they seemed so confusing. At least they did, until SimpliSafe came along. If you're not familiar with SimpliSafe, it's the security system I've had for the last 4 years. In my opinion, it is the most simple and easy to use security system on the market. And when it comes to protecting my family, SimpliSafe brings me a lot of peace. So if you're looking for a full line of security cameras, entry sensors, glass break sensors, water sensors, and more with full access from your cell phone, look no further than SimpliSafe. My personal favorites are the cameras. I can put them inside or outside, and I can keep an eye on everything. And SimpliSafe also has Active Guard outdoor protection, which means that SimpliSafe's monitoring agents can see and speak to suspicious individuals approaching your home, trigger alarms and spotlights, or even request urgent police dispatch, all before a break-in occurs. SimpliSafe costs around $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts or hidden fees, and installation is super simple. Save 50% off your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for a professional monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com/Cole to customize yours. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Alrighty, we're bailing. So if there's one thing some people maybe don't know about that farm in the flat hills, or in general, if you're not familiar with bailing, one part of the challenge of bailing in these hills is you have to figure out how to make a bale that is round stay on a hill. So I know my first time I was actually helping Dave because I was just used to waterways. I've never bailed anything like this before. Never bailed a hayfield. And first bale I kick out, roll down the hill. Like, gosh dang it. So I kept trying to figure out finally how to do it, and finally got a hang of it. Sometimes here and there you'll have one roll down, but you figure it out. And it takes a little bit of an art to figure out how to make a bale stay on the hill. If you don't see, here's an example. I didn't quite get enough angle and it rolls down the hill, and hopefully that doesn't go through the fence. All right, we're getting closer to being done. Got just a couple passes left here, but there she is. Look at all those bales. Up and over the hill, down the slopes. I got 102. Dave, I'm gonna guess he got here an hour after I did. I'm gonna guess he has 40 to 45. And then tomorrow we have 75 acres to do. I believe it's 70 or 75 acres to do.
So we're gonna wrap this up. It's been a productive couple days, lots of figuring out and lots of updates as far as the next process. And we're gonna put stuff away because we're expecting about 5 inches of rain in the next 3 days. So we're gonna have everything out of here and our lumber up above buttoned up and covered and everything put away to get ready for some serious water in here.
For today's adventure, we are going to be working on the farmhouse. We are going to be cutting out some of the foam that is in this floor, and then we're going to be digging out a footing. And once we get that done, hopefully we can get some heated floor lines laid down, and then we'll be getting this thing ready for concrete. For the start of today's project, Roman and Justin are going to get started outside, and I'm going to get started in the construction office. Last summer, the wind turbine company behind my house put bigger generators on top of their wind turbines, and when they did that, they had to pull the old generators down as well as the old blades, and then they put up new bigger generators as well as new bigger blades. And when they did that, they had to bring a bunch of their big equipment into our fields, and they destroyed about 20 acres of crops. They basically made just a big crop circle underneath of the wind turbines so that way they could set the blades up underneath of the tower, and then all of the driveways they widened up 60 feet into the fields pretty much on both sides so that way they could get the long blades in here, and they did it on that wind turbine behind me as well as the 3 that are right across the road. Long story short, the wind turbine company will pay us for all of the crops that they destroyed, but before they can pay us, we need to give them the yield data from the farm as well as the price that we sold it for. But before we do that, while we're out here in the field, we might as well take a look at our crops. First up, these soybeans that I'm standing by are tall. They are about up to my sternums. I'd say they're about 4 feet tall. I accidentally broke it. It smells kind of like asparagus. So here's what we got. We got 4 single bean pods. We had 43 3-potters, and then we had 89 2-potters. A 1, 2, 3 potter just means how many beans are inside of the pod. So a single pod, there's just 1 soybean inside of there. A triple pod, there's 1, 2, 3. You can see the little humps. And then on a double, there is 2. Single potters are what we do not like to see. Dual pods are typically our most common. We really like it when we have 3 beans in a pod. And sometimes if conditions are really good, we will have 4 potters. And the biggest I've ever seen was a 4-pod. I have never seen a 5. So I would say the plant that we pulled looks pretty good because we hardly have any single pods, so this is good, and our majorities are our 2s and our 3s, and we actually have a fair amount of 3s. I did not find any 4s on this plant. I did also pull this plant right from the edge of the field, so it gets more sunlight right here, but this is also an area right along a wind turbine driveway where we fill our semis. So this should be a more compacted area, technically speaking. So it's not a very good representation of what the field is actually doing. We just got 3 inches of rain last night, and I don't want to walk out in there because it's a bit of a swamp. By pulling a plant on the edge of the field, I'm not really taking into too much account the amount of pods that we found. I more or less just wanted to see how plump are the soybeans inside the pods getting. So like this one was at the bottom of the plant, they are getting nice and round and plump, and then this pod was at the top of the plant and it's a lot flatter. But all of these are starting to fill up and they're coming along nicely. As far as harvest goes, these soybeans are probably about 6 weeks, 7 weeks away from reaching full maturity. So during the next 6 or 7 weeks, these are still going to be packing on weight into those pods, which is exactly what we want. If we can extend that period out even further, we would like that, because that will allow our pods to be able to get bigger and heavier, and the bigger and heavier our beans are, the more yield we get off of our fields. But if I had to guess, we will probably be harvesting this field around the first week of October. Oh, it's not gonna be fun walking in here. Ow. Woo-wee, we got some disease in here. I believe that is southern rust. And looking up the canopy a little bit, see that black dot right there? Oh, those black dots, that is tar spot. Hold on a second, is that vein right there in that leaf northern corn leaf blight? I'm not sure, but it might be. It's something. Our current growing season has been extremely wet. We have been getting a lot of rain, and with a lot of rain and nice warm temperatures, we have a nice environment in our fields for diseases, especially in our corn. We did put a fungicide on our corn this year, but the fungicide only lasts for so long, and once it starts to wear off, the diseases will continue to push through the field. Now, hopefully, I was just in a spot where there just so happen to be diseases, and hopefully the rest of the field doesn't have any diseases, but by seeing that little spot with some, we definitely know there are some diseases out there. If you ever struggle to shell your sweet corn, if you just take your thumb and you stick it way up inside of there and then just pull straight down, you can get everything right off, and then just wrap the husk like that. Boom, off, broken, done. That's not what we like to see. There, this here looks a little bit better. Boom. First off, I'm looking at our pollination. Now this ear pollinated really well. It's all the way up to the tip. That's what we like to see. And then we have some nice uniform looking rows. This other ear, on the other hand, we had some pollination issues at the tip. So nothing is going to be produced up here. So we definitely have a bit of a stunted ear, a little bit smaller, because the top did not get pollinated. That tip back from the top could have been caused for a couple reasons. Reason number one, we are right along the wind turbine driveway. I just stepped in a few rows, so we very well could have been in a compacted area, and I just grabbed an ear from a stunted plant. So that could have been number one. Number two, we could have had some bugs come in and clip some silks off the top. So each one of these individual silks goes to an individual kernel, and the ones you see hanging off the top here are for the very top of the plant. So if a bug came in and clipped those off when these were pollinating, these top pieces would not have gotten pollinated. And then also, if we had some really unfavorable weather conditions like extreme heat or a ton of rain while that last part was trying to pollinate, all the stuff may have got washed off, or the pollen may have been sterile if it was too hot, so it simply just did not get pollinated. Either way, something happened to that ear. It's just hopefully it didn't happen to every single one of them in the field. Hopefully that was the only one. Probably wasn't, it definitely wasn't, but we want to try to minimize those things from happening. As far as the reproductive stage for our corn goes, we are entering the dent stage. So if you look on top of the kernels, you can see that little dent coming in. So that is a good sign that these kernels are starting to mature. They're starting to get heavy, and it means this plant is getting closer to maturing. When it comes to an ear of corn, the bottom of the ear actually starts to mature first. So we can see more denting at the bottom, and then as we work our way to the top, we have less denting. So these dents are slowly going to work their way up. If I had to guess, we probably have about 20 days worth of 80-degree days and 60-degree nights before this particular ear would reach full maturity. And then also, if you look at an ear of corn and you see everything being nice and pretty like this, where it's all straight, that means we had really good conditions during pollination. However, if you have something happen, it will start to get all out of array, like on this one. So on this particular ear, looks like stuff was pretty good on this side, but for whatever reason, something happened up in here that affected the pollination. By pulling an ear, we can also do a quick and dirty yield calculation. So we start by breaking it in half. First thing, we want to count the kernels around. This one has 16. By the way, the kernels around is always going to be an even number. The next thing we want to do is count how many kernels we have long. Counting from the bottom just about to the top, I'm gonna go with 38. For the next part, we need to figure out how many plants per acre are out in the field. I'm gonna kind of cheat on this one. We planted 34,000 plants per acre, so we're just gonna assume that 33,000 of them came up. If our ear was 16 rows around and 38 long, we had 608 kernels on the ear. If we had 33,000 plants in an acre, that means we have 20,064,000 kernels in an acre. And if there are typically 80,000 kernels per bushel, that means that ear is a 250.8 bushel ear. So in the case of these two ears, this is a 250 bushel ear, and this is a 205 bushel ear. For a quick and dirty reference, our goal for our corn is 225 bushels per acre. If we yield better than that, we are tickled pink, and if we start pushing less than that 200 bushel per acre mark, we're probably pushing whether we are making any money or not. Back to the office now. This is the form that I need to get filled out for every wind turbine. So this is for one wind turbine. So 3.11 acres was damaged, and then they have a prorated yield as well as a prorated price. So what I want to do is find what our actual yield was, because if our actual yield was higher, they will change that to be higher. And then if our actual price was higher, they will also change that as well. I can already tell right now that our price is going to be changed. So they had a $10.09 prorated price. These were all of my soybean sales over the last year, and I averaged $10.82. And then this is the field's harvest data from last year, and the yield is pretty much spot on with what they have at the prorated rate, so we're just gonna be changing the price. Sometimes it's not very fun to pull up all of that information, but in this case, taking the 20 minutes to do it made us about an extra $1,000.
First thing we're doing this morning, we're gonna pull these outside duals off this tractor all the way around, and we are going to sandblast the rims out, prime them, paint them.
Justina, how are we making out here?
Oh, we're halfway.
Halfway where?
Halfway to China.
Is there really China underneath?
Hate to break it to you guys, but the antipode of where we're located, aka if we dug straight through the earth, we would end up off the coast of Madagascar somewhere in the middle of the ocean.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm ready for that weather.
You may be wondering, what in the world are we digging this big old trench in the middle of the insulation for? The area where we are digging is located right here, and it separates the future kitchen from the kitchen pantry. And the whole reason why we are digging out this area is because on the design we are looking at, they have a big old post hidden right inside of the wall here, and there is a girder truss located over the kitchen here. I did not want those things in, so in order to remove those, we have to make this divider wall on the pantry load bearing. And the only way we can make this thing load bearing is if we build a footing beneath it, which is what we are currently digging out. And just for safe measures, the concrete engineer told us that we needed 12 inches of concrete underneath of that wall for the footing, so I had us dig it down 18. Justin and Roman, if you're watching this video, I apologize. Well, not really, I wanted it to be deeper, but yeah, we only actually needed 12. So this is our footing. The actual concrete is going to be about this much higher than the insulation. So we're gonna have basically 24 inches of concrete here by the time everything is all said and done. And in the bottom, we currently have a sump pump because when we started digging this thing, there was a 0% chance of rain for like 6 days. And then as soon as we got done digging, we looked at the weather and there is like a 90% chance of rain in 5 hours. We talked about filling it back in, packing with the packer, and throwing the insulation back over the top, but we decided the sump pump would be easier. Today is Monday. We are planning on pouring this pad first thing on Wednesday. In order for us to be able to do that, that means we need to get everything done tomorrow. We are going to be losing Justin tomorrow. He has another job he is going to go work on, so I'm hoping we can get the help of my dad, Cooper, and Zach, so that way we can get all of our radiant heated floor lines laid down, as well as all of our rebar spacers, and then every 12 inches we need to drill a hole into our foundation wall, so that way we can run dowels into them to be able to get our floor tied into the foundation wall. And then we also need to build the rebar cage that is going to go down here in our footing. So we are going to have a really busy day to be able to get all of this done.
12 hours later.
We ended up dodging the rain. We must have just got a couple little sprinkles. We have a few little puddles here in the low spots, but nothing that's really going to slow us down. Roman's gonna get started cutting some rebar, bending some rebar, so that way we can get that filled up in there. And while he's doing that, I'm gonna push a broom around, try to spread out some of these puddles so we can get it to dry off faster. And then we need to get our radiant heated floor lines down. We need to get the rest of the rebar in, and we need to get everything chaired up as well as doweled into the walls. So we have a really busy day. It's not perfect, but I tried to come into the areas that had the bigger puddles and spread everything out, so hopefully things will evaporate a little faster. As far as the rebar goes in the footing area, we have some number 7 rebar that was left over from our original foundation wall. So Roman right now is currently throwing them in the cutter and the bender. He's making some pieces so we can have our mats on the bottom as well as our mats on the top. So it's gonna sit inside of the trench, something like this. So he's gonna be making a few of these, and then we're gonna be using that number 4, which is 1/2 inch rebar in the back, for everything else. There it is. There is our rebar cage that is going to be inside of the foundation that will be underneath of our load-bearing wall. Then we have this particular spot right here. We have it a little bit bigger because there is still going to be a post hidden inside the wall. It's going to be carrying the balcony that's up above us. So we have this area double matted right here, and then we are also going to have a mat on top, but the layer that's on the bottom, or the 2 layers, are going to be the ones that are primarily doing all the heavy lifting. I'm not quite sure what the feeling is, but I'm looking at the rebar we have down in here in this footing area, and it just doesn't sit very good with me. I don't feel like there's enough. So I am going to build one more mat, just like the bottom one. We're just gonna build it about 4 inches above it. So we're gonna be hanging off the top of this rebar. Take a look. It's definitely overkill, but I feel a whole lot better. And we also realized we did not dig out enough over there, so we're gonna do a little bit more digging, and we have to build a rebar cage there as well. I'm not joking when I say this. We just got a call from the designers slash engineers who are doing all of the beam load calculations and everything. They gave us plans 2 days ago to build this, and then they just called us today. And they said they were running them through their scenario computer, and they failed. So, I don't know what we're gonna do now. Just to be clear, this did not fail. We are gonna have a whole beam structure up above that's going to be holding up the roof load. And I guess the beam that is supposed to be located right here above my head is the one that failed. They had a girder truss there before, and they took it out when they put a load-bearing wall right here. So I'm hoping they can just put the girder truss back in and everything will work. But we don't know, and we really can't do anything else until we get this beam stuff figured out. If these footings were not here, we could move along and get everything ready, but the problem is we cannot put in any of our heated floor lines until we get the footings done, because we want to run our heated floor lines as close to the footings as possible without running them over the footings, because if we run them over, if this settles different than this, then our heated floor lines could break inside of the concrete, which means our heated floor would not work. So if we lay down all of our heated floor lines and then we have to dig a new area for footings, then we will probably have heated floor lines running through it. So we need to wait until we get done with the footings before we can put the heated floor lines in. And then we also cannot put in any of our dowels until we get the heated floor lines in, and we can't put in any of our rebar until we get the heated floor lines in. So everything right now is waiting on footings. So with this news, there's not really a whole lot more we can do today. So this is all we got for today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.